Welcome, everybody, to today's episode of The Lindsay Elmore Show. When I first started this podcast, I picked up the phone and I called Samantha Lee Wright. And that is because Samantha has been podcasting for a long time. And I was so grateful that she shared with me tips and tricks to get the show off the ground, get it going, make it excellent, and make it sustainable for years to come. She has translated all of her years of learning into a new book called Pineapple Podcasting. And today we discuss why health and wellness entrepreneurs and health and wellness minded people might consider starting a podcast to get their story out there to more audiences. After that, I talk about the health benefits of podcasting and the health benefits of listening to podcasts. So take heart, everybody. You are doing something good for your health right now. Let's get to the show. Welcome to The Lindsay Elmore Show, a podcast that helps you find fulfillment amidst chaos. On this show, I interview thought leaders, doctors, creatives, spiritual gurus, and game changers who inspire you to pursue your dreams, overcome obstacles, and leave your mark. Starting from zero, Samantha Lee Wright analyzed, strategized, and bootstrapped her way into podcasting fame. With no connections and a shoestring budget, she started her own podcast, The Essential Oil Revolution, which quickly skyrocketed to success, becoming the world's top podcast in its category in a matter of weeks after launching. Samantha Lee Wright is not only a master of her platform, but a passionate teacher of the podcasting medium, leading the next generation of podcasters into the future with clarity and confidence. She explains it all in her new book, Pineapple Podcasting. Today, we're going to talk about why your voice might need to be on a podcast and how you can bring your dream to reality. Samantha Lee Wright, welcome to the Lindsay Elmore Show.
Thank you so much for having me, Lindsay. I'm excited.
So when I started this podcast, you know that you were one of the first people that I called for help and advice and encouragement because you have many years into podcasting. And I feel like, especially in 2020, everybody was like, perfect time to start a podcast. But you were ahead of the curve, especially for most women, and especially for most women in the health and wellness arena. So what gave you the inspiration to start a podcast in the first place?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, really, the inspiration came from the fact that I wanted my podcast to exist. And that's kind of first and foremost for anyone that's even thinking about, starting a podcast, make it something that you want to listen to, because, kind of backtrack before I started my podcast, I'd just been introduced to this world of essential oils. Okay. And I've been into health and wellness for a long time, but essential oils were kind of new to me. And I wanted to learn everything. I was hearing all these stories and all these great testimonials. And I was like, gosh, these things sound cool. Well, let me go to my podcast app and, learn about them, because I love to learn through audio. And I've been a long time podcast listener. So I go and I open my app and I find a couple shows about essential oils and I tune in, but nothing's really the caliber of podcasts that I wanted to listen to. And I went, gosh, I know there's so many people out there just like me that are dying to learn everything they can about essential oils. Why don't I start a podcast about it? And then I get to call awesome people like Lindsay Elmore and be like, hey, want to come on my show and let me pick your brain about oils?
Well, and I think that is something that's so powerful, is that you have to want your show to be in existence, because I was kind of the opposite of you. When I first started in essential oils, I was like, I will go to the 400-page textbook and I will analyze it myself. And I started teaching other people about it. And the natural progression for a lot of my followers was, now Lindsay's going to start an essential oil podcast. But that was not what I wanted. It was not the show that I wanted. And to be honest, you had already done it. You had done it and had had such powerful conversations, had really started that education. And I was like, this is just not where I think I'm going. And it took me over 2.5 years to really think, if I'm going to start a podcast, what do I want to bring into existence? Why do you think that podcasting is such an amazing communication medium, both between the host and the guest, as well as the show and the audience?
It's such an intimate form of communication. I very intentionally knew that I did not want to use video as part of my podcast. And kudos to you, Lindsay, that you make video a part of your podcast. And, people like Marie Forleo and everyone who does video really well. I don't like video. Me being on camera with you right now, not my thing. I've gotten better over the years, but, I feel like that's one aspect of traditional podcasting, which is audio only typically, that is just really special, because when you are hearing someone's voice, and especially when you're listening to podcasts through earbuds or something, like a lot of people will listen, through their ears, it's literally your voice going straight into somebody's ear. And there's just this intimate quality to it that helps you connect with that listener. Even though, I sit in my office and I'm talking on my mic and I can't see the people that are listening to my show, but I feel like I'm talking directly to them. And because I get emails all the time, people being like, "Oh, Sam, I listen to you every time I walk my dogs, you're in my ears," or every time I commute to work, you're in my car. And there's something so special about that. And I think especially for people maybe like me that are kind of shy on camera or something, you get to take away that image, which for a lot of people, you can make a snap judgment about someone's image on a video. I mean, people, as soon as they saw me on, your video, I'm sure made lots of assumptions about me. I don't know what those are, but they could be good, bad, ugly, in between. So when you take that element out as well, you kind of give yourself this chance to let people get to know you before they judge you for the way you look or the way your office looks or the clothes you're wearing or anything like that, which I really enjoy that aspect of it a lot.
I also think that sitting down to podcast is the only time, basically ever, in my entire life that I sit down and have 30, 45 hour-long conversations with people that I either know. I mean, I know you, but you and I aren't like tight besties. It's not like we've known each other for 20 years. And yet I get to sit down with you, focus and concentrate on what you are here to bring as gifts to me, to the audience, to everyone. And that, I think, is remarkable. And that is the intimacy that you're speaking of, that was probably, I think, the most unexpected benefit of starting a podcast. And what about I think a lot of people are scared to tell their story. And I know for me on this show, my own personal journey comes up a lot. How much do you think that starting the podcast, hearing stories of other people overcoming health challenges and coming through to the other side has informed your own health practices? And how much do you share with your audience about where's the vulnerability and where have I struggled? How much of your own personal journey do you inject into your podcast? And, you did write a book about kind of the mechanics of podcasting called Pineapple Podcasting. So also speak to us about are there different ways to approach vulnerability and openness on podcasts? And how do you kind of decide what kind of show that you want after you know that you want your show to be out there?
Right. Yeah. Well, there's a lot to unpack there. So I'll do my best. But first I'll say that the people who have come onto my show and shared their stories, which is always what we want them to do. If you're going to be a guest on someone's show, we want to hear their stories. That's what people love to hear. We don't just want your mechanical advice about XYZ. Like, we want to hear your story. And so I'm always trying to kind of get that out of my guests for my listeners' benefit, but I benefit immensely as well. I mean, people have come onto my show that have impacted my life for the better in so many ways. Like, I remember I'm going through this project right now where I'm going back and sort of re-editing a lot of my earlier episodes. And so I was listening back to, I think it was episode number 6 or 8, 5 years ago, I recorded this. So I'm going back and listening to this, my voice, talking to the Iron Cowboy. Do you know the Iron Cowboy?
Oh yeah. James Lawrence, who, 50 triathlons in 50 days or
50 Ironmans.
50 Ironman. Yeah. Just, not my goals in life, but.
But I was like listening to that episode again and just being like, oh my gosh, he's who inspired me to put a little bit of working out into my mom routine, because I was like listening to myself talking to him about, like, how do you find the time? I'm a mom. It's so hard. And then it was like this time travel experience of like, oh my gosh, that was the moment where James Lawrence kind of gave me permission to prioritize that. And it really changed my relationship to prioritizing my health and my working out and whatever that looks like to me. So yeah, there's a lot there. And as far as how much you share with your audience about your own personal journey, I mean, it's entirely up to you. And I think it really depends on the type of show that you have, but no doubt people who are listening to your podcast, they're only staying around. They're only going to keep listening over and over again because they like you and they trust you. And that's not to say that you have to share your deepest, darkest secrets and things like that to your audience, but no doubt they love to hear about you and what's going on in your life. It took me a while to kind of crack into that for my own show, because I wanted to be such a go-to resource for essential oil education. I was like, people don't care about me. They don't want to hear about my story. But whenever I would share a little bit about my own personal journey, whatever's going on, people responded so well and they loved it. Right now, my daughter is battling Lyme disease, and that's been—
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Yeah, that happened. Well, she was diagnosed like a year and a half ago. I think she'd been battling it for a good year and a half before we finally got that answer. So anyway, I've been sharing that journey a little bit into my podcast, and getting all these great emails and messages from people with their advice. And, they're always checking in, how's your daughter doing and things like that. And that's been nice. And it's been healing for me to be able to have a community of people to share that journey with.